and fighting hard for it and making it a part of your life. It's kind of awesome. This morning, not to sidebar into some things, but when you do this, you got to find different techniques to like prepare yourself for it, okay? So, you know, I could say just go in the woods, you're going to have to stand a chance at it. But like, how many of you are actually training for it? And by training, I mean mentally preparing yourself, spiritually preparing yourself, physically preparing yourself to like handle these things, right? So let's just take like Florida. Why the hell is Florida so cold? First of all, that's bullshit. Someone needs to call Florida and say, Florida, can you act like Florida, please? I didn't move here to freeze my butt off. But if you're going to go out in those woods, and some of you, you're coming out tonight with us, you know, we're going out. How do you deal with it? How long can you stay out there? How long can you hike for it? Because you see, you get on TV and you get these other places and they pay you to train for it. So for those of us that aren't doing that, we've got to self-motivate to get it done. And for example, this morning I'm staying at Josh Watson's house. Thank you, sir, very much. It's like a giant petting zoo. It's amazing. He's got 100-gallon tanks. He's got 42 birds, dogs, cats. It's for an animal lover, it's absolutely amazing. But he's got a pool. And how cold is that pool?
Pretty cold.
Pretty cold. Like, I haven't been in anything that cold in a while. But for me, I jumped in that, right? I jumped in that this morning because I was just talking to Connor Flynn about it. It's like, my idea is, if I'm going to go in the woods and I'm going to look for squatch, right? Instead of just walking around smelling like good cologne and like dressed up, I want to act more like them, right? Because I think they're part of a physical culture. So I cold water train so that eventually when I go out to the woods, I can get in the water. I can act like them. I can move like them. I can go around the woods. And not only that, does anybody know about cold water therapy and what it does for your immune system? I'm just getting a little bit of knowledge and we'll go back to the paranormal. Wim Hof, yeah? Between breathing and cold therapy, what it basically is if you can lower your core body temperature by 3 degrees, it is the equivalent of taking your computer, turning it off and turning it back on, and suddenly everything works again. It's so good for immunity, okay, and your lymphatic system. Now, you use that so it's good for your health, but it's also when you get into the woods, by doing that and by using controlled breathing, you can last longer. Because, as we all know, for those of us that storm the woods, it takes a little bit of luck, but the longer you can put yourself out there, the better chance you have of having a genuine experience, which is what we're all hunting for. You know, that's why we go into the haunted houses. We want that scare, we want that moment, because you want to see who you really are. And I'll tell you, I've had some crazy experiences in the woods, and sometimes I'm the bravest guy in the woods, and sometimes it absolutely freezes me into position and I can't move. I'll give you one little story before we have our first speaker up. Amazing dude. I had one time where the way I describe it is it's primal fear, okay? And you can't explain it, and you've been to the zoo probably, you've met dangerous people, because honestly humans are the scariest people. But it's the kind where it roots you in place. And I was in the woods and I didn't even see it. I won't do the full story, but I didn't even see it. It just stood up in the trees about where the bar is and began to walk away. And it sounded like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. It was, and I was so fixated, adrenaline rushing, that I had just been squatting down, and pardon my French again, but I was thinking, I was like, shit yourself and run, shit yourself and run, shit yourself and run. You're gonna die, you're gonna die. But at the same time, I'm like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Is this really happening to me? Is this even real? Oh my God. And then by the time it got a little bit away, I snapped out of it. And so I'm telling you, if you really want to know you had a genuine experience, unless you're just the bravest person in the room, if you get rooted in place or you do actually run, it was genuine. And nobody can take that away from you, okay? And the other hard thing is when you have these experiences, as I'm sure most of you had, it's hard to explain, right, to people. You want to share it with your friends and family. You want to you want them to come with you. You want to go, listen, yeah, TV's great. Like, it's, you know, going to the bar is great. Like, going to the gym. But this is real. Like, I've never felt so alive, and I want to share that with you. And you usually get the look I get, which is like, yeah, Ryan, all right, you're high, you know? And it's like, no, I'm not, actually. It's Sober October, thank you. Anyway, long story short, I'll talk more about it, but there are certain ways to train yourself to be present in that moment so that when that moment happens, you can click the button and record. Or you're just more present enough to actually enjoy it and not simply be scared to death. Anyway, with that said, run a little bit behind, just a little bit. Matt Williamson is a recent friend of mine. There's certain reasons why you just really love people and they inspire you. And for me, myself, I'm a dad, and I've got 3 little ones, 4, 3, and 2. So yeah, I'm in the 7th ring of hell, but also 7th ring of heaven. You know the amazingness. But it's been so hard for me to motivate. That's one of the reasons I teamed up with Stacy and with James and with Josh and with the team, because it was hard, man. I'm like, I don't know, I just don't get to sleep, and I'm like a grumpy old man. And then I meet someone like Matt who balances being literally world-class dad with putting out art, going on adventures, and he has the support in the back there. That's a superhero. That's a real-life superhero, you know? That's amazing. And so anyway, I just want to say we can be inspiring and dynamic because we all are in so many ways, and Matt is inspiring and dynamic. And Supernatural Spectrum, if you haven't, check it out. Check out his films, but most importantly, just listen, because he's got genuine experiences and adventures. And a final caveat, he watched our film, The Skunk Ape Experiments, and I don't know if he's going to touch upon it, but after watching that film, he began to experience paranormal activity at home. Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Supernatural Spectrum, the king of dadhood, Matt Williamson.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was too many kind words for me. And it's funny because I've been thinking about what I'm going to say up here for a little while, and at the end of the day, I just still feel like I'm a normal person, and I'm just trying to understand my experiences just like everybody here. It's been a long road ever since I was a kid, experiencing crazy things, from paranormal to UFO abductions to seeing my first Bigfoot when I was only 8 years old. And I spent most of my life alone, not really able to make true connections with people. And I realized that now I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. And it's because I took that leap of faith, and I'm sitting up here on this stage, even though I'm super nervous, I'm kind of shaking. I just never thought I'd ever be in a place like this, doing what I do now. But it's tough, like Carbici said, I've dabbled more and more things have happened. I like to call it tickling the phenomenon, because most of the time it tries to tickle you and get you to notice it, but I'm trying to get it to notice me. My main areas that I go to are down in South Florida, where I'm from. I try to keep it as local as I can, but I know that there's places like this, right up here in the Florida Panhandle, that are truly amazing. And that's why I ended up making the film Panhandle Monsters. I was just absolutely inspired, and I had the perfect tour guide who will be speaking here later tonight, Connor Flynn. Really great friend, and I see so many people in this room right now that I met the first time that I took that leap of faith. And it was like having you guys here support that got me here. I just never thought, I never thought that going out in the woods and meeting a bunch of people that were just like me was possible. And so many of you have helped me in so many different ways. Stacy and Phyllis and Rich and Marion was there the first time, that first night that we had out there, and my mom and my wife. I just never thought, and there's Mr. Jeff, who's a really good friend of mine and supporter of everything that I do. It's people like you that pushed me to get here. And I just think I owe being right here where I'm at to all of you. I would have never made it here. So thank you guys for that, and I'll kind of get into more about what I do, but I love you too. So anyway, Panhandle Monsters is just kind of like the pilot to the series. And I'm going to be doing more filming up here, covering different subjects like Dogman, UFO abductions, Bigfoot. Bigfoot's the next one on the list that'll hopefully be getting part of it being shot this weekend, hopefully. After having that first Bigfoot experience and looking back on it, I always thought that I had this gap of time because I was terrified in that moment. Not until I started learning more and talking to more educated folks, I realized that, missing time has been a phenomenon associated with Bigfoot experiences. And like, I didn't realize that there was a paranormal aspect. That day when I went out that weekend that I went out with my Aka, I thought I was just gonna go look for a Bigfoot, and it was possibly this ape running around the woods. And where I'm at now, there's just so much more than that. Me and Connor, we ended up working on another film called Bigfoot Flesher Phenomenon, because there's so much more to this. There's too many reports, too many accounts to say that it's just the flesh and blood animal. The disappearing, the orbs, what people call mind speak, but I call it telepathy because that's what it is. They just have so much more to them, and they do amazing things. It's really hard to pinpoint what it is at times, because just as quickly as they come and do something to you, they leave just as fast. And I think the main point that they try and teach us is the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of higher truth. And that's a conquest we could all learn from. And I think we can apply that in our daily lives too. I'll talk a little bit about what that experience was, that first Bigfoot one that I had. I was 8 years old. I was at my grandmother's house for the summer, and I don't know, I'm not doing really good at holding this mic very well, am I?
You look great!
Thanks, I look great. I can't see nothing though because of my glasses. That's not even better. So my grandmother used to live across from where like pine scrub land met like a mangrove swamp. And there was like one bike trail that you can go down, and it can only fit 2 riders side by side. And we used to go over there and we would play in the woods all the time. And my favorite thing to do was grab a stick and go play in the mud and try and dig the crabs out of the sand. Well, I went over there by myself like I was told I shouldn't be doing. I did it anyway, because I'm a rebel, and that's what I do. Hello? And I'm sitting there, I'm kneeled down on the edge of the bike path, and just sitting there, going about my business, doing my thing. And I hear off over to my right. And I finally hear and it stopped. And I look over, and there's this other tall, reddish brown haired thing. And it's staring at me, and I'm staring at it. And the main thing is the eyes. He had this perplexing amber color eyes. I had never seen anything like it before. And then the next thing I remember is that I was up on the bike path. I went from here to here. And I don't remember how that happened or why, but suddenly I'm further away from it. And then I ran. And for so many years, I tried to tell my family about it. And we did actually have monkeys that lived down in South Florida, because during Hurricane Andrew, there was a zoo that got damaged and a bunch of monkeys escaped. And for so many years, nobody believed me. So I just kind of chalked it up to, well, it was probably the biggest monkey I've ever seen. And I'll just leave it at that. But that wasn't really the end. From having poltergeist activity in the house to intense, terrible nightmares, I started experiencing things like shadow entities coming into my room. And doing things that nobody should have to experience. I can say that from my understanding, shadow entities are probably the embodiment of evil. And I always felt like that carried a stain on me. That if this thing touched me, I had to be evil too. And it was a really hard battle to go through life like that. And not realize that that was just another Easter egg that, whether you want to call it God or the Creator, whatever you have your name for it, that it was just another Easter egg that they were getting me to hear. That little bit of pain that I felt then, which felt like a lot of pain all those years that I carried, would maybe help somebody else who's sitting in this crowd right now who might have had some sort of experience with that too. Because pain shared is pain lessened.
I don't have as many experiences or as much time. Buddy, you are a walking vessel for high strangeness. Okay? Can we get a round of applause? I mean, he lives it. We don't seek it, he lives it. Yeah, we should be doing a case study on you. I don't know how you feel about all of us coming and parking at the house and, studying you, but, we talked, and it runs in his family as well, which you didn't have a chance to touch upon. Like, this is something that, when you start talking to people about their gifts, psychic gifts, the activity in their houses, it's usually generational, which is really interesting. And he also talked about something that I think is really important, which is find your tribe. But also, we need to bring the tribes together, okay? Like, you may or may not have noticed that in our culture, they divide us in every possible way, okay? And if Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, if we can all come together and put our research together, put our egos down and work, I mean, it's just logically, we're gonna get there faster. And not only are we going to get there faster, he also talks about feeling very alone as we experience these things. We mostly talk about how wonderful they are, but it really does kind of set us apart. So find your tribe, and if you are in any way thinking that you're evil because that's happening to you, which is a completely normal thought, why not? Certainly reach out. And you can reach out to me directly. If not, anyone else in here I'm sure would talk with you and work with you to figure out, what we can do to help. But mostly it's just about not feeling alone. And then he also talked about, why do these things happen? Like, why is all of a sudden this happening to me after that? And one theory that I think we all share is its intention, right? Like, why did placebo medicine work as well or not better than the medicine in Western medicine that they test on you? It's because if you believe it's working, it tends to work. Because a lot of people aren't going to say this, but you're all gods and goddesses. This vessel that you walk around in is truly one of the most phenomenal things on this earth. And for those of us looking for Bigfoot, Skunk Ape, now imagine that vessel. I mean, that's literally like Grendel from Beowulf, or like we watch all these comic book movies about Thor and all these people. That's literally what they are. But at the same time, you are that amazing as well. You are all apex predators. And our culture wants you to forget that or ignore that or not know that. Each one of you is capable of completely dominating environment. And especially women. Women are the greatest. You can actually create life. Like, there's no one more amazing than women. And we can't let people take that away from us. Anyway, not to sidebar too deep down there. But
go through my presentation here. I think it's important to remember Billy and remember people who want to be included, and think about the witnesses I'm going to discuss today and how they might be, or why they might be telling a story. I'm actually currently, before I get into my Bet's Mystery Castle, I promise I'm going to get to some Florida stuff, but they told me I had 45 minutes, so I'm going to do a little diatribe real quick. Promise I'll get to the Florida stuff. But I'm currently involved in an investigation where that concept, that Billy concept, is in full force. And interestingly, this story for me started 6 or 7 years ago in Morocco. I was backpacking through the country, and at the time I still had like a little WordPress blog where I would investigate paranormal and write about it. UFOs, ghosts, stones, circles, those kinds of things. And as I was doing this backpacking trip, a friend of a friend, we were talking about my research and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I got a guy you need to meet. I have a person for you." And I was like, "Awesome, let's do it." And so we met in this roadside cafe in Morocco, these really weird kind of like buffet diners they have for truck stops. And I met this guy, and his name was George. George was an American dude, older, and he lived in Tangier. And there were some weird things about him. I actually had a second meeting with him, and he lived in a very large house for an unemployed guy. He had some strange assets and connections in the Moroccan government. And he said this was because his father was a CIA agent. And of course, Tangier, this area, was an international zone for a while, so there was a lot of spycraft going on in the 50s and 60s. So it's an interesting and plausible story. But this is when the story got a little crazy. He said, not only did his dad work for the CIA, but that he knew the secrets behind UFO technology. He said that, oh yeah, it's simple. The government has reverse engineered honeybees, and that's how they fly. Well, that was the strangest thing I had ever heard. So that was instantly bookmarked in my mind. He said the thorax had an anti-gravity chamber, and that's how they were able to figure out reverse gravity technology. And for years, that was just a weird story I would tell when I was doing something like this. I'd be like, yeah, one time I met a crazy guy, bees, UFOs, blah. And years later, I went to Chile to write my first book. And I was investigating UFOs and concepts and different explanations. And of course, South America has a weird history with escaped Nazis. So while I was investigating that angle, I entertained the idea that maybe Nazis did have UFO tech. After all, I met a crazy guy who said it was based on bees. So if that's true, then why not? And I wrote it one little paragraph in the book. Well, unexpectedly, people read the book. And I started getting invited to go on podcasts and talk about it. And one podcast that invited me said that paragraph jumped out at them the most in the entire book. And he said that was because he had a childhood friend whose dad was a man in black. That's all he would tell them. They knew he worked with UFOs in some capacity, but every time they asked, he would say, oh, I'm a man in black, like in the movies. Well, when they asked on the deathbed of this man for more information, the only thing he would say was, look at the bees. And so for me, that was an aha moment. Now I have two crazy CIA shady sources that are saying bees are responsible for UFOs. So I started digging. First I did the right thing, and I looked at the science. And there are some weird things about bees and gravity. You know, they're thought to be too heavy to fly. Their nests are designed in a strange way that ignores gravity. But it was all very scientific numbers and kind of boring. So I went to I went to the underground information waves to see if I could find any fun stories about UFOs and bees. Oh boy, did I. I found the story of a man, a Russian entomologist, a bug guy, named Viktor Gorbinikov, who you see here, on what he claimed is a flying device. Now, as you can see, it's not very impressive. It looks like a pallet with some scooter handlebars. A simple piece of technology, but he said the concept of this was derived from the shells of heavy flying insects, that he discovered a pattern that gives off a strange electromagnetic field. And he was able to use this concept and literally stitch bug parts together, put them on the bottom of that craft, and it could fly. Now, obviously, I read this story and saw this picture, and I was like, okay, yeah, right. This is a Billy for sure. He just wants to be included. Fun story. Well, then I actually read his writings, and then I became a little more convinced. Because what he said when he would fly this craft around Siberia, people wouldn't look up and see a little man on a flying pallet. They would see these geometric discs, these glowing shapes, triangles and tubes, your classic UFO shapes. And the areas he operated this craft, he began to list the side effects. Poltergeist activity, high strangeness, things that lined up perfectly with what we're discussing here, the true connections of the paranormal. Dodging the light. Don't even bother, I'm walking. And so he wrote this list, which almost mirrored a list I wrote that compares the psychedelic experience to the paranormal. He said all of these side effects, psychedelic and paranormal, would happen around this craft. And at this point, I'm like, I've done it. I've cracked the code. And then I start thinking even deeper. He said heavy insects. He didn't just say bees. Think of the scarab beetles in ancient Egypt. Maybe that was how they built the pyramids. I go and I think of the Coral Castle here in Florida, that megalithic structure said to be built overnight. The legend is that some school kids rode out and saw him lifting these blocks with this cone, seashell kind of shaped device. And interestingly, in Aztec mythology, Quetzalcoatl descends to the underworld when he's trying to create humans, and he has to trick the god of the underworld who sits atop of a pyramid. And to do so, he has this cone. Some translations it's a shell, some it's a trumpet, but it's this cone that he fills with bees, and he does a dance around the pyramid, and this distracts and confuses the god of the underworld, and he's able to create the 5th incarnation of humanity. And so I'm thinking of all these things, and the bees and the insects, and then I have to remind myself that this story comes to me from 2 crazy guys who claim to be in the CIA. I have no confirmation they were. One guy I never even met. And the other comes from a Russian entomologist. Now, I was able to confirm Gorbachev was a real person. He worked at a university. There's documents. But this story comes from a poorly translated version of his memoirs. No version's ever been truly translated, published in English. There only seems to be a couple of local versions floating around Siberia. So again, I can't really say. And I am tempted, because, you know, if I were to do the math, if I were a gambling man, which I am, I would probably still bet on bee theory. We know humans are real, and we know they do crazy, weird things. But as a paranormal investigator, I've got to recognize that my case here, not the strongest. It's fun, it's a great story, but it's important not to get caught up in the story. Very quickly can happen.
You thought he had energy, okay? We're gonna just dial it up just a little bit with the man himself. Connor Flynn, what do I say? He's the son I always wanted, you know? And it's the energy and enthusiasm for adventure. And not only that, you love everybody. And that's the way we should all be, because you are going to find answers before any of the rest of us, simply for that fact, that everyone to you is someone to learn from. Because mentorship is the key to everything. So find your mentors, and there's a bunch of them here today, and they're all spectacular. So, I mean, he's an artist, he's an actor, he's a filmmaker, he's a writer, he's a porn star, he's everything you want in a man. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the absolute legend in the making, Connor Flynn. I don't understand the term either. Yeah, let me find Stacy.
What's up, guys? I have a slideshow, PowerPoint, cheat sheet. I was talking to Stacy that it's basically cheating for me to have like visual aids. All I need is like a keyword list of like 10 things, and I could just rant and rave. Oh man, I see Mitch and Wes are here. Good to see you guys. More movie stars are here. You should tell everybody outside, get in here. You know, history is being made right now. But yes, my name is Connor Flynn. I'm originally from Brunswick, Ohio, which is a small town on the outside of Cleveland. And I have a cool slide about the mistake on the lake. And the mistake on the lake, of course, is known as Cleveland. We have the Cuyahoga River, which has caught on fire twice. And they say we always had bad luck up there until LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers won the championship in 2016. Sadly, he had to kill Kobe Bryant to do so, if you actually dig deep. So yes, everything has some crazy roots in this new reality that they have written for us. But this is a product of manifestation, me just being here on stage. Stacy Brown, my big bro, all my future family members, and just all the projects we've all worked on. It's very cool. Following up Matt Williamson, who I've worked on with multiple projects, camped with him. I was in the tent next to him when he was abducted by a forest fairy next level entity. It might be Pan, it might have been Sasquatch, it might have just been a flat rock booger. But I was actually in the tent next to him, and we heard some crazy thing run past us in the middle of the night, and we got it recorded, me yelling at it, just trying to get it to scamper one time. But dude, you killed it your first speech, man. It's a pleasure working with you and watching you grow. Like you said, from Mayaka on, I got out of the car, you and Nana Boss helped me set up my tent, and the rest is history. So thank you so much, you did great. Chaz, my psychedelic brother, I can't wait till we're doing acid together on the beach one day, finding these weird spheres.
There's still kids here.
All these mermaids. But yes, guys, I'm Connor Flynn, Bigfoot Anon, actor, author, researcher, porn star, like Ryan said. I don't show anything, but the aquatic beast, she eats me in more ways than one. So it was a fun time on the river. But yes, I was born in 1992. I just turned 30. Again, Stacy, great job on the dream team putting it together. The three top people in paranormal under 33 just spoke the first three. So pretty wild. Like I said, history is being made. But yes.
You want us to?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, just yeah. All right.
Awesome.
So just a little here there. You started early, that's why I'm not here.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. All right, the mistake on the leg, like I was saying, I feel like I can be the rewriting of history. Everybody can rewrite history. We are stuck in our ways and written and programmed, but we have that energy to transcend, to transform, to create, to start something new. And that's what I'm trying to do on my whole journey. That's all this paranormal thing was. I love cool stories, but there wasn't enough out there, so I just wanted to add my own and dig up some ones that are definitely under the radar. But right here is Warden's Ledges. And Warden's Ledges is a really cool location where there's done a bunch of carvings on these cliff sides. And if you actually follow the cliffside in olden days, it would take you all the way to Helltown, which is one of the most famous paranormal, sinister places. They did government testing in deep underground military bases. And then there's these weird serpent-like creatures down in the valley in the river. Some people say it's the peninsula python, some people say they're dragons. But then in the valleys, in the hills, is the Ohio grassman. And that's how I kind of got jump-started all into this. The grassman, they say, is a lot bigger than the normal patty Sasquatch. So think 9 feet, think 12 feet. This guy has been stomping in all these moonshine shrines and really the king of the forest. And Ohio has 10,000 mounds. And I definitely think there is a correlation between the prehistoric history and these ancient beings and the connection to us. That's why they seek out individuals that maybe are, supernatural in their own ways or just cleanse themselves from society. But Warden's Ledges was a really cool place that we would do mushrooms and see some wild things. But right here is Cedar Point, one of the most famous roller coaster amusement parks in the world. Everybody's like telling me to go to Cypress Gardens and stuff. Like, dude, the highest roller coaster is 120 feet. That's 420 feet right there. But why I put it on there is because it's right on Lake Erie, where you can ride the top of the coasters and basically see Canada from the top. It's a pretty wild spot. But Mr. Ballin actually did a cool video recently. Rest in peace to the person that lost their life. But at Cedar Point, someone lost their phone or their hat, and they went into unmarked territory, and they got drilled by a coaster and sadly killed. And ever since then, and even before then, there has been crazy paranormal activity. And I feel like these places of high energy and sadly tragedy, they are just catalysts and just huge bed, a grid for these things to just transform and really come to life. But yeah, I definitely recommend going to Cedar Point, the highest, fastest roller coaster. So again, all this is like just adrenaline for me. I love just doing stuff that makes me feel alive, and it comes in many forms. Speaking of big balls, Chaz, we got the witch's ball right here. Really cool. It's a sphere. Honestly, might have connections. I love spheres, but we don't live on one, Chaz. Me and you gonna talk about that soon too, bro. I can't wait. Chris Godwin here, Ryan and Stacy Brown, all my flat earth, real earth brothers here. So it gives me more power when I know I got some backup too. But the Witch's Ball was like the coolest haunted location right around the corner from my house. This Russian witch accidentally got knocked up by a man, and then her family harassed her on how she was a whore, slut, bad words. And she ended up getting a bunch of arsenic at the picnic, and she killed 14 members of her family and friends, and then put them in a well. And they say she had enough arsenic to wipe out the whole city. So I would not be doing this speech probably if she did, reach her goal or achieve her goal. But it's a really cool spot. It's hot when it's cold cold when it's hot, and she is buried underneath to trap her down there. And her victims are also buried all around the cemetery. It's a really hot spot for covens of witches and also paranormal investigators. And my good friend Billy Lawrence, growing up, his dad lived right across the street. So we would go there after dark and really dabble into some weird things. But some other really cool spots right by that was the Witch's Ball, Crybaby Bridge, and Irma's house. And all three stories deal with sacrifice, killing families, and a woman that, is against all odds and just vulnerable. And all three stories really get intertwined together. But I feel like I was just like blessed because it's right around the corner from my house. When we'd be wanting to do something cheap and easy to do in the weekends, we would just bring some girls there and try to act cool. But it was definitely an awesome thing, and it really jump-started everything. And I'm all like wild and jippity scuba be like loud and that. But when I'm out in the woods, I do try to just balance. Like I don't get too excited, I don't get too scared. I just try to be and try to be like a conduit or just the balance board, the balance beam for these things to subtly show themselves. And that is this world. You have to have your eyes wide open and your sensors in all locations. And even before your expeditions, after your expeditions, it's still all one. And I think that's what life is too. Life, death, are we born? Is this a dream? Is this the 7 minutes of our playback time after I died and I'm reaching back? I don't know. It's all fun to really dive into, and all we can do is just collect data and analyze it with our wild friends. More childhood adventures. I used to be a rapper. Pretty cool. I still am. I got bars. I got flow. I was gonna make a joke that this stage and the other one, they've had some really good acts. R.A. the Rugged Man, he rapped with Biggie Smalls, so it's kind of funny, the most gangster rap is still connected to all of this. But that definitely gave me a little bit of stage presence. I still am trying to hold the mic steady, and you guys seen 8 Mile, even Eminem, his knees were shaking, his arms were heavy, knees weak, you guys know. But the venue, the Agora Ballroom, is actually the most famous venue in Cleveland, Ohio. Kurt Cobain shared the stage with me. Very cool place. Super haunted as well. So I just think it's a cool little combination. And then right here is Seth Breedlove. He makes Small Town Monsters. You guys have probably all seen his documentaries. He is from my county. Ask him why he hasn't made a documentary on me yet. I don't know. Come on, Seth. Step it up, brother. 330. But a long time ago, I was there for his Minerva Monster screening, and I still remember asking questions and like, is Bigfoot one step in this dimension and one step in the other? And I was onto something. I was really onto something, and now it's
dogs playing poker sketch. I have Bigfoot playing poker, and it's Sasquatch legend. They loved it, so they got them on these T-shirts I'm wearing. And they got coffee mugs, they got shot glasses. So I have some of those at my table there too. So that's doing pretty good. It's funny, they showed me a picture at the store, and I have a whole rack of none but my T-shirts. So I was kind of thrilled about that. So if you have a chance, come by my booth. I'm giving out free postcards of my Bigfoot playing poker. And like I said, my book's a little bit different. It's not inappropriate for children, but it's kind of geared more towards adults and enthusiasts. So that's pretty much it. So please come by my booth and see me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Connor.
Are on media a lot. We're on the Latin Network, Univision. We do a lot of stories for them as well. Mike and I have our own radio show, More Party Paranormal Radio. And you can watch that. And we're going to show you some cool stuff that we've captured too. But you can watch us every Monday night at 9 p.m. on our YouTube channel or the KGRA digital broadcasting network. So War Party Paranormal's been around for, I would say, like, what, 7 years?
7 years now, yeah.
And we're the largest team in Florida. We got 30 members, and we're actually broken into 2 different groups, the North and South team. I run the South team in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Then we have another team that covers West Palm Beach up to, like, Fort Pierce.
Yeah, and like Eric said, you know, we started, our specialty is in doing residential cases and helping people that have problems with the paranormal. Yep. And we started doing these events to get our name out there, get people to meet us, where we could help them in doing residential cases. We started picking up more and more locations, and then Eric got offered to do this radio show, and we've been doing this, and it's been really awesome. We've been getting a lot of good feedback. Been working with a lot of different paranormal investigators that you might see on TV. And I actually have a little clip that we put together that we can show you to show a little bit about the show.
Go ahead, do it. I think my mic's on.
Yeah, I know. I gotta hold my whole close to my mouth. Where'd the audio go?
So we take pride in our evidence. Everything that we show and display, it's all real. We don't try to manipulate it or anything.
Did they turn off the audio for the computer?
All right, we're just working on audio. Little technical difficulties.
I'm with Paranormality Magazine, walking through. Got John Legend, Bowie, Ninja Ronnie, some Jim Morrison, Elvis, Woody Nelson, Amy Winehouse, Prince, Eazy-E, Biggie, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Bob Marley, Kurt Cobain, and a bunch of other legends. Wow, so cool. This is truly a magical venue. And there's a concert going on the other side of the venue. It's so dope. Little 8-ball action, huh, Ronnie? Little 8-ball action. Waiting for some food right now, but Ronnie was just pointing out that alligator snapping turtle skull up there. And there's a big cat, a shark, and another unique fish. And Clemson was losing, so I was in a good mood, but now the powerhouse moves on. Apalachicola Antique Classic Boat Show, 2007. Don't be late. This is so cool. Big Dismal. There's actually a sinkhole in this area called Big Dismal. I wonder if it has something to do with that. Don't tread on me. Gotta love murals and any kind of artwork creation. And guys, this is the Okalocny River, and there's actually a BFRO sighting encounter that they found beds right along this river. There's going to be an expedition tonight and an investigation of the building. So it should be super, super rad. again, I'm just happy to be here. Manifested this. Just an Ohio guy coming down to Florida, meeting friends, making memories. That's what it's about. Hope everybody here reaches for the stars. You'll land somewhere soft.
TV's going crazy. David comes in and says, "What's wrong?" And the TV's going nuts. And he says, "Unplug it." And she's got the plug in her hand. It's unplugged. And that's the tip of the iceberg. This was going on with some force for a matter of years. And David thought it was everything from poltergeist to, he didn't even know what to do, but he couldn't go to work without getting a desperate call from his wife. So David spent his time trying to somehow capture an image or images to prove this is what's going on, just find out what the hell's going on. He got a few video clips that were sent to Ben Hansen in his show, Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, in April 11th of 2011. And there's a little bit about that case on that show. They try to recreate this. David's never, over the years, one thing he learned is they're not gonna pose for pictures. Rather, he set up like the reflective security mirrors you see in the store and put a camera behind it. He would put the mirror up here on the wall above the bed and then mount a camera down there and film the mirror. Some kind of reflective trap almost, where they couldn't see anything pointing at them. He went through a night's footage and saw this guy pop out. That's his wife in the bed there. I know it's a little blurry, but he saw this guy pop out. And Ben Hansen got a hold of the video and wanted to go out there and investigate and try to reproduce it. I actually reached out to Ben Hansen, and he reached back to me before the investigation that we went on. And Ben said, "Look, our equipment went nuts when we went in David's bedroom. It shorted out. The monitor van that I was sitting in, we lost all communication." And the freaky part is, David described when events like this happened, or strange things happened, he would get up the next day and his driveway would be full of earthworms. Not tens, not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands of earthworms covering his driveway. So when the show happened and everything went nuts, they had a guy in a tree filming David's bedroom and his equipment failed. He jumps out of the tree and there's a writhing ball of earthworms at the foot of the tree. It's 32 degrees. It's freezing. Earthworms don't come out like that. So it's almost like an energy source. Here's a little closer look at this video. If you notice, it shuts off the light too. Right? So they spent 12 hours and 15 crew people trying to make a wooden mannequin to do that. Ben said we really couldn't do that. We couldn't duplicate it. So, I'll take a moment here just before I show you some of the photos. David has, when he takes pictures of these or films them, sometimes the footage is missing, but what usually happens is his camera gets fried. So David took us in his house. He showed me in a storeroom, large storage bins literally stacked with hundreds of dead cell phones that they burned out over the years. We met with his ex-wife, and no one had ever talked with her. We met with his adult kids, and no one had ever really talked to them. She told me, point blank, if you saw what we saw, your whole reality would be shattered. And his kids confirmed some pretty. Daughter didn't want to talk, but she did tell us one thing. She said, when I was a kid, I woke up and my room was filled with butterflies and moths like smoke. Just like smoke, there's about that much of a gap on the bottom of the floor where I had to crawl through my hands and knees so I didn't breathe in the butterflies to get out. The son confirmed a lot of things as well. It cost him his marriage. Because when they were together, I thought these two people clearly love each other. Why aren't you married? I have to ask. Is this the reason why? And she said, yeah, it's the biggest reason why. Whatever is running the show here appears to be female, she said. And it doesn't want David with anybody. It didn't want David having kids. They had to adopt kids. She was there 100% supportive, emotional, and said, this all happened. This kid said, this all happened. So over the years, David has, I'll show you the setup. He puts a mirror, a jug of water, and a reflective ball or reflective balls to shoot into this to capture, if there's anything back here, the water slows down, for lack of a better term, slows down the imagery to have it captured. And I've read others that we just had a guy do an experiment for us at the Conjuring House, and he was talking about the heavy water and the theory behind it. And it's David's theory. I'd never heard it before. So while he has a chameleon pictures, these are the
There. What was odd with the one he showed at first was it was twisted, but it was the only one in that area that was done like that. Now with the other ones, it's hard to believe that it wasn't made by something. So we've narrowed it down to Bigfoot or a person, because you have, like, sure, if these 3 trees were to fall at the same time, this 4th tree wouldn't be under one and over another. You know what I mean? So when you're seeing things like that, you're building your case. You know, you're like, hey, there's definitely something here. We need to put more time into this. But we found probably 15 to 20 of these things throughout the property over the years. And that was leading up to when we finally got some footage, which always seemed fleeting, because every single time we thought we were about to get footage, the wire on the camera would go out, something would happen, and we'd see the thing, but for some reason could not record it. A lot of people think that Bigfoot can kind of control your electronics, shut them down, different things like that. I don't know. You know, I know that I can't continually mess up that much, maybe once or twice, but I try to be on my P's and Q's when I'm doing this stuff. Very serious about my research. But, you know, there comes a time where you're like, okay, is somebody doing this, or is it a Bigfoot? And then you have to rule out what you can. But that led to our footage that we captured there, or capture any kind of substantial proof that may prove the creature's existence. So, anybody got any questions? I'll take some questions for some few minutes. What's up, y'all? Anyone?
What's the most recent encounter you've had closest to here?
Closest to here. So after this, we moved to a spot in Goose Pasture, which is the Osceola Wildlife Management Area, and that place is very, very odd because there's a lot of lights associated with the Bigfoot encounters. And I would say the last Bigfoot encounter I had close to here, it was there, but it had to have been at least over 2 years ago. It was just basically a bluff charge towards the truck. One of my friends, we showed up, my son and one of my buddy's girlfriends, they seen this thing run by the truck. I actually myself didn't encounter it. I was in the group though, that all that stuff was going on. And then we were walking shortly after that, me, David, and my girlfriend, and she was hit in the finger with a rock, right? And that's the weird thing about these creatures. Everybody talks about rock throwing. I don't understand how they could be so accurate, you know, because the brush there is very thick, palmettos, you know, this tall and stuff like that. So having to throw that over, how did they hit her? You know what I mean? But it brought the blood up under her nail.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it was pretty rough there.
I've heard so many stories of them having perfect aim from close by through stuff, or literally 300 yards away. Craziness. Right. How do they do it? I think they're like
How do they
perfect
do it?
mathematicians, because they're just natural in this world.
Right, because then we're scanning with our FLIRs. I'm walking into the woods. I'm like, hell, I'm the person that wants to get face to face with the thing, right? So, okay, cool. You just got hit with a rock. It wasn't us. I'm going to come in here and see what it is, and then there's nothing. It's very hard as a Bigfoot researcher to stay in the ape camp. You know, you have the ape camp and the paranormal camp. At first, I started out thinking, hey, this is a, you know, legit flesh and blood animal. I was just 10 feet away from it. I'm a decent hunter. I'm going to kill this thing, you know, within a matter of 6 months. And so that's what I did. Bam, 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 trying to get out there and get it done. And it's just one thing after another, and you're never close enough. It's like they're telling you can see the curvature of the earth. You can never get high enough.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's always still.
It's always
seems
just
flat.
beyond.
But that's what it is with Bigfoot. It's hard to stay out of that paranormal camp because then you start seeing lights. Your equipment's going dead. You're feeling just drained. You're feeling sick. There's a lot of similarities in the paranormal that are also associated with Bigfoot that most researchers just leave out. And I think that's the problem with the Bigfoot community is like our data set, those encounters, those reports, they leave shit out.
Yep.
You can't leave anything out. I don't care if she's a bus driver or I don't care if he's a policeman. That doesn't matter. It's what's in the story. Why did you leave the lights out of it? Because you don't want it to be? We can't learn nothing if you're going like that. A good detective has to go into it with all possibilities on the table.
All the details of the case.
Right.
Yep.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a friend of mine who is from Brazil, and he had said that in Brazil he had a encounter with a UFO.
Okay.
And he said, I felt like it was stuck in my mind. It was stuck in the memory, so I wouldn't remember what happened. Do you think that the Bigfoot is capable of taking your mind and manipulating it so that you don't remember the experience, or that you, like infrasound, that sort of thing? You think that they can mess with your mind, essentially?
So I usually go by what I experience. And maybe my mind's not worth much. Like, the frontal lobe here was damaged severely in high school. But on a serious note, like my buddy Les Stroud, he told me they communicated with him telepathically. Right? We went in this whole conversation about this. I believe him. He's not crazy. He's not going to lie to me. He has nothing to gain. I've felt like gut feelings before, you know, and maybe that's what it is. Something just telling me to get the hell out of the woods. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not perceiving it. A lot of people report that though. You know, it's funny you said something about the UFO. There was a time I would usually, when I do my research, I try to be out during the feed time, right? So our moon affects the way everything in the animal kingdom eats. They only get hungry at certain times of the day, right? We would be on the same clock too if it wasn't for all these flashing lights, Taco Bell, McDonald's. We're not, you know, eating like nature intended. We're eating out of impulse a lot of times, right? That's why you don't see overweight animals in the animal kingdom. They're all, you know, very much. So anyways, I'm rambling, but I would go out about 2 hours before the feed time, get in my spot, lay on my backpack, take a nap, you know, and wait for that feed time to start. So one night, and this could just all been a dream, right? I'm sleeping out there. I'm waiting on the feed time, and I wake up, and there's a Sasquatch standing in front of me, and it just looks at me and walks off. And for some reason, I knew to get up and follow it. And as I'm following this Sasquatch, we're headed towards this bright, bright light. And he just kind of walks and stops right at the edge of the light. Well, as I get closer, I can see it's a ship. and it's leading me onto the ship. So then I'll wake up as the light intensifies and just takes over everything that I'm seeing, and I have this scar on my hand. Maybe this scar happened and I just don't remember it. I find that hard to believe. I got a pretty good memory. I'm pretty sharp on a lot of things. I'm not Joe Biden up here.
Outcast Paranormal, the host of this event. Very cool. The Barden Booger. Their most recent movie, Skunk Ape Experiments. It's right here. And I actually helped on the recreation scenes. Very cool. We filmed that at Bellamy Bridge. Jack McClellan, Tristan, his buddy John. Then here's my table. Got Yeti bars, Void Cat, my books, Monsters Mystery, Every Camp Has a Crystal Lake, Pano Pirates, Pokemon cards, Kathy Westerman's, Handcast, Zillafoot, of course. And here's the Supernatural Spectrum booth. Of course, they got the whole family affair. Got Kat, Matt, and Nana, and all the little runts and hellions in between that will be holding us up in the future years, of course. But they got some awesome shirts right here, and then a whole binder of evidence. And this first picture is actually from the Colt Creek when we had a close encounter with the skunk ape. We had some knocking, crazy encounters and experiences after that. I hit him up on PayPal, Venmo, and Snapchat, and Cash App. Snapchat, yeah. And here's his card too, Supernatural Spectrum. Those are my business cards. He does 2 weekly shows, one himself that he finds guests, and then him and Nana actually do a show together. And then this is our movie that is coming out soon, Bigfoot, Flesh or Phenomenon, Part 1. And that is so cool. I actually scribbled on that one and signed it, 1 of 1. And that is at the Crawley Museum, where James actually took me to the Crawley Museum the very first time.
We did.
A legendary night, and it's been good history ever since.
It's
you
been
know,
awesome, man.
We've been pedal to the metal, you know, grinding the gears of the machine. I liked your Eckert speech, man.
Thank you.
Eckert is next level. It would have been cool if he just appeared out of anywhere, like pull the trick on you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was going to come, and I was going to bring him out at the end and do a little Q&A, like let him talk about it.
Yeah,
and get specific, or maybe if I was a little off, like something he could correct it or whatever. But
soon enough, we'll be visiting him near Gulf Breeze, and hopefully we can all rendezvous.
Yeah, I'd like to dig into
Soon
Gulf
enough.
Breeze. I've got a guy in Gulf Breeze that was part of the team that was hired to photographically dissect the Ed Walters pictures. And he found an attorney, high-powered attorney's son, who they rigged it for that picture. But I believe something happened with Ed Walters, but like a lot of people, he wanted to embellish it and make it really real.
Yeah.
This guy's got a vintage World War II planes, and he said he'll take us up and we can film in his planes, and he can talk about his experience with the Gulf Breeze from that end.
Yeah.
And I found some people that were actually said, well, we're out there on the Skywatch and we saw this stuff. That I found a few people that are still around. So those would be cool to introduce to.
That's what happens when you dig a little bit.
That's
you
it.
know, it finds you.
That's right.
Well, bro, it's good to see you on this side of the state. But you have Bellamy Bridge. We've been here before, bro.
We've been here before.
So you're not no rookie. I appreciate it, man. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you, my
Yes.
friend.
And your better half, of course.
Yeah, and much better half.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Wavelength, against the system. Energy, soul, eternity. Yes. Love it. I'll see you guys soon.
All right, man. We'll see you, bro.
Later. Hey, you guys better be in our movie that we're filming here in a couple weeks, Pirate Warrior.
All right.
Yeah, we need some extras, so you know we can have some goofballs, but we need some you know art, you know.
Okay.
Here's War Party Paranormal, the guys from South Florida. I'm excited to do some investigation with you guys here soon. You guys always got the crazy tech, always have a cool setup. I like how you guys got the live, you know, play, and then 6 different screens, 6 different rooms. Like that's what I want out of a paranormal experience watching it. So continue that. And Rich Sharp is fam, so keep him with your squad, and you guys will rise to the freaking clouds.
Rich is awesome.
Did you guys hear his voice in the cartoon when he played the alien on Paranormal? Yeah. He's coming back next episode. Glad we didn't kill him off, you know? But find these guys online, War Party Paranormal. Very easy. They are very active.
I'm not sure what.
Scan that if you can. But yes, good vibes. Awesome, man. And then Paranormality Magazine, the freaking stars of the show. Yes. And what's really cool is our worlds combined right here.
Hell yeah. Get in there.
Issue 18, October 2022. Let's check out the contents. Village Villains. Who wrote that? Some goofball. No, but this is a really cool story that I wrote that happened at my aunt and uncle's house. We're at Benjamin Farms, a hot spot for activity. Of course, my aunts were always like, "It's the coyotes." There's something out there, Aunt Dana. I'm still saying it.
Like, it's not the coyotes.
But thank you so much for making that link up.
And if you look, I think this one's also got, we've got the skunk ape experiment somewhere in here.
Yup.
There we go.
Look at that.
So there's that.
And this is where you grew up, so it's so cool.
I love that.
I love that you guys have been to, Crawley Museum and know a little bit about it. It's so cool when we spread our wings. And I saw Greg Morrill is in here. It's really funny just seeing all the familiar faces once you dig deep into this, man.
Oh yeah.
So dope. And Jack Kirby, definitely prayers and positive thoughts to you, man, about the hurricane damage. I know all about that, brother. Stay strong. You're a cool dude.
Look at this guy all day.
Oh.
Wow. He's going off non-stop.
Yeah, we're in a very, very haunted place. And the keys. Is there any,
No. That's look cool. That's the Naganga.
I do remember you mentioning this last time.
There's a lot of pigs.
A spiritual device there.
Whoa. So it's a combination of multiple relics and findings that you've, pieced together.
Right, it's kind of like a mobile altar. So you put in, you feed it tobacco and rum, in the Hunan traditions. Its main ingredient is graveyard dirt, and then you add certain things. I've got, there's a knife in there's a bullet in there, and that's supposed to give you protection from those weapons. But you can also use it as like a Rorschach tarot card. You think of something, you in your mind's eye, ask it a question, and you reach in the dirt and feel until you find something solid.
Whoa.
And you get something like that.
The knife.
I was looking for it. I was like, it's somewhere in there.
That is so
there
cool,
you go.
man. And as you guys know, Chaz has written 2 books, Paranormal Expeditions, Hunt for Friendship. I think that's so fun of a title because friendship, let's do it. But also the friendship tribe or species of people, or the aliens. Yeah, very, very cool. And then A Place Between Time and Space, the Betts Castle. And soon enough, hopefully I'll make my way there, man. I know we were lined up that one weekend, but it didn't line up. That's all I can say, And for a reason, who knows what would have happened? They probably would have collapsed on us that day, So everything happens at the speed that we need it to in this world. I'm just so excited, man. It's cool when we all can get together, Tallahassee. Oh, here's the star of the show, Mr. Brandon.
I'm the newbie.
I'm looking forward to the future with you, bro.
Yes, sir. Me too.
You are in the science field, so hopefully you could bring some recognition and some truth and just combine, the phenomenalism side and hopefully the future science experiment side, because you have to draw from somewhere, right?
That's right. Well, one of the things that I'm looking for is to show the general public and the scientific community that a lot of the empirical methods that are being used by these researchers are very close to the scientific methods being used in universities.
Very true. We're all people under one sky. We got to try to find that ancient connection.
That's right.
It's amazing, man. I'm so looking forward to the future, man.
Me too, man.
This is a Torreya Titan right here.
Oh, Torreya, yes, I love it.
Yep. And there's so many future spots, man, that I'll take you to and show you, and I can't wait to dive into it, bro.
I can't wait, buddy.
Looking forward to it, man.
Yes, sir.
Peace. The scary skunk ape creature. What a wild beast. But it is really cool. This suit has been used in multiple pretty big skunk ape documentaries, skunk ape experiments, and then this was also used in Skunk Ape Lives, which are 2 groundbreaking films. So, Josh, thanks for doing the hard man's work. But I know this morning, when it was freezing, you were glad to be in that suit.
Right.
Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Later, bro.
Yep.
And you're in a calendar, too. I'm going to be looking for that.
You saw that?
Yeah, you have your clothes on, but the rest of the 11 months are...
Right.
Woohoo! Kayla King, shout out.
have spaghetti. Big spaghetti stain sauce on it. I have no idea how it got there.
Legends.
Evan was on that. No, it was mine.
Oh, it's your show? I couldn't remember. I knew that.
Yeah, the Young Guns.
Oh,
I think this
yeah,
way
we
now.
also did one on.
Back to me or you?
Okay.
I think we reversed it.
We also did.
I know y'all were all on together, like a bunch of 5 or 6
All right, then that was probably mine, I think. That was when we had
That was
Evan,
probably,
Evan
yeah.
on, Tyler was on. I'm good. Thank you.
Jeffrey.
I don't know.
Oh, there they are.
Already.
All right, guys. We're gonna head back to the hotel. You're gonna be here later?
Yeah.
All right.
We're staying here.
I'll see you soon, brother.
All right, guys.
Good seeing you.
Take it easy.
We found a bar with affordable prices. That's all we need.
Yeah, for real.
Can't tell you how conscious I'll be, but I'll be ready for some Gansfeld.
Yo,
Or
guys. We're going back to
take
the
it
hotel.
easy.
See you guys soon.
Let's see you again, man.
Hell yeah.
He's rad.
Like going outside and like trying to like run like a dog on the ground. I'm like, why am I not floating? Why am I not hovering? I just did this shit. Like I fell on my face. I was like, I just did this. Why isn't it working? But not really since adulthood. I've had some like crazy nightmares and some lucid dreams, but never like astral projection type deal again.
See, I trained forever to do it, like years, facing north, doing it, and I was only able to ever achieve it twice.
But you did get there, okay. Because I've tried some of
Twice.
this stuff, but I'm gonna be honest with you,
Was it scary? Like,
lazy with
or
it.
you were prepared because you were like training for it?
It was like falling asleep. You don't know when it happens, it just does. So all of a sudden, one time, I was super sick. Like the sick where, but I was doing it naturally.
Yeah.
So basically, in my opinion, I had shut my brain up. And I wasn't overthinking. And all of a sudden in this, trying to go to bed, I opened my eyes and I was up in the ceiling. I could see in every direction at the same time clearly, but my focus was on me on the bed. I could see everything, the cosmos, everything. And I went, and I all of a sudden went, oh my God, I'm finally doing it. I'm doing it. And the excitement
Snapped it back.
That's weird.
right back. Now,
Hey, I'm Connor from Bigfoot Anon, and I'm always on the hunt for the next big adventure. When you're on the trail for long hours, you build up quite the stench, enough to drive any skunk ape or yeti away. Luckily, I'm on the quest now for the solution to all my problems. Yeti bars. They do exist. Available in tons of different scents and fragrances. Check out YetiBars.net for more and use my code BA10 for a special offer. Clean like a beast. Yeti Bars!